Hey everyone.
Hello. Thank you guys so much. We want to say how grateful we are to you for taking time to watch this and hang out with us and for caring about what we have to say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. So we were sent a letter from Nick. He's over at the prison that Liberty volunteered at, that I worked at, my wife worked at, and so he sent a letter to us kind of explaining a situation that he's dealing with, and Liberty's going to read that letter.
Yeah, and it's our first prisoner letter, right? I mean, not the first.
It's the first one we're reading, and we can tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like we said a few videos ago, we are taking letters from people currently incarcerated to read to you guys. So the first one's from Nick. That's pretty fitting. And like April said, it's something that Nick is currently dealing with at the prison here. So it's called Young Kid in a Man's Prison. Bear with me reading his handwriting.
We don't read cursive anymore. We're so used to reading
He writes in cursive. That's pretty impressive.
Right.
So young kid in a man's prison. Imagine a kid coming into a prison system with nothing to his name. This kid really doesn't come from anywhere, so he can't say that he really knows anybody. His mother is in the same place he is, prison, that is. The system put a 21-year-old white kid, a 5-foot average inch, 120-pound white kid, inside of what is considered Alaska's toughest prison. What he did to get here deserves a sentence of paying his debt. Don't get me wrong, but what it seems like was never factored into the equation was the road he was set to travel. For inclusion and camaraderie, he is bound to click up with some dudes already established inside of this system. Men in general are prone to preying on the weak and feeble-minded, but heightened by a void of attentive things to do. Alternative things to do. I do know how to read. Alternative things to do. The sharks inside of a system come to test this kid's merit. While he's in his early stages of doing his sentence, he does something that is seen as criminal to the criminals. And slowly, the word goes before him to every corner of the prison system. Now, having to do a minimum of 5 years, he has set the men of this system against him. Even in the event of someone with influence trying to vouch for this kid, the mob mentality has taken over, and this kid has now been left to his own devices. This story happens constantly, and I relate it to bring the awareness of no alternative. The end of this kid's stay is more than likely going to be going into protective custody, a waste of resources and time. Education is the model of what is needed for this young man. Education of what lies ahead of a small, impressionable kid who believes that life is still a game to be laughed at. My heart goes out to these kids, but my conversation goes to asking the question, what if this was your son? What if your child needed simple substance abuse treatment, a positive role model, or even just a good woman in his life? Would you be so willing to throw his life away for the one mistake he made? It's happening in your state, on your dime. Do you think it's time to think of an alternative?
Yeah. That's pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it all the time too. You see these younger kids come in and they're thrown into a warehouse of sharks and people that, I mean, that's the prison norm.
Mm-hmm.
You click up or you go to protective custody.
Mm-hmm.
You better join and do the violent acts that are asked of you, or you're going to protective custody, and then you're a piece of shit. Protective custody, if you live there, it's not quite like this in Alaska prison, but I don't know if any of you have heard of the New Mexico prison riot, where the prisoners took over the prison, got out, and they broke into the protective custody unit. And they got into the shop, also part of the prison, and they took blowtorches to these guys.
Seriously?
They did awful things to these guys.
Did not. Wow. I didn't hear about that.
And there's actually a book on it, and I cannot remember it at this moment. But it might be In the Belly of the Beast or something like that. But anyway, sorry. Protective custody is, you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And they don't get a lot of programming.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, our prison system is, well, yep, don't go to prison. Oh, you went to prison. Guess what? Deal with it. And they're going to come out harder, more violent, or more fearful. And fear makes people do crazy things.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, yeah, and this sentence, what if this was your son? And it makes me think of my home state just decriminalized hard drugs. They're still illegal, but
right.
They are decriminalized. And at first everyone was up in arms about, oh my God, they just decriminalized cocaine, heroin, meth, all of these drugs that my home state, every state has a problem with. But then looking at this, what if this was your son? And, Nick says for a simple substance abuse problem, which it's not really a simple thing. But, I think about people I know in my home state that are good people, hardworking people, sweet, kind people, but sometimes they do cocaine, and that's bad. It is bad. I'm not saying it's good, but thinking about someone that I know that is good, sweet, and kind and does cocaine sometimes with their friends, if they got busted and went straight to prison, it would be game over. They would not survive prison. They would not survive it.
Not as they are. They would come out a shell.
No, they would come out, I don't even want to think about how they would come out or the things that would happen to them in prison. So, with my home state decriminalizing substances like cocaine, so, someone gets busted with a bag of coke, and instead of going to prison, they go to rehab, to an inpatient rehab. The money that would have been spent on them being incarcerated,
which is a lot,
that money goes to the rehab facility, and this person gets the help they need, and they come out a better person. So, personalizing it here, like, what if this was your son
or your brother,
or your child,
or
your anything? Yeah, your sister, your mom, your whoever. If they had a substance abuse problem, got busted, went to prison, that's not helping anybody. That's going to make them worse.
Oh, because there's drugs in prison.
Yeah.
Whoever thinks there's not drugs in prison, they're crazy. They get in there.
Yeah. So then on the flip side, with my home state decriminalizing, that person, if they get busted, they're going to get the help, the focused help.
Yep.
That they need. Instead of just locking them up and throwing away the key.
Well, you got 5 years. Here you go. Hope you survive. And
then this is what happens.
When
and
they're
you have
naive.
kids like this.
Yeah.
Like, they're going into prison as a young kid, and they have to prove that they're tough. And so they do what these other guys tell them, like, go shank this guy, and then you'll be part of our little clique, and we'll protect you. Okay, well, you just murdered someone.
Now how much time do you have? Or even if you injure someone, if you can get charges for assault. Now you've got more time. There's people who go into prison on short prison sentences.
Yeah.
And they get longer and longer. Well, good thing that person's still in prison. Or maybe the prison system set up the way it is really helped grow that seed.
Well, yeah, and what if this sweet, kind kid gets busted for having a bag of coke, goes to prison, then has to kill someone to join this group to be protected, what's that going to do to their psyche? I mean, you know, this person probably would have never murdered someone on the outside, but now they have to for their own survival.
Yeah.
And what does that do to your brain? That's going to fuck them up.
So, what do you think one rape does to a young guy?
Oh,
So, if you were told, look, you're either going to beat the crap out of this guy that we hate, or you're not going to be part of our clique, and we're going to rape the shit out of you. Guess what the kid's going to do?
yeah.
I mean, and that stuff happens. That
All the time, too. And it's like, they literally are forced to choose the lesser of two evils. You either beat up this guy and then you'll be part of our group and we'll protect you, or you're going to get raped by all of us.
you're going to be someone's bitch. Or you better go to protective custody. And the funny thing about protective custody is there's still your, you still have your prey and predator in protective custody. It's not like, oh yeah, we all get along because we're we're all, no. You have your order of, you can be someone's bitch in protective custody.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just one part of the problem. And Nick states it very well here, is where at the end he says,
oh, don't you think it's time to
think of alternatives?
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do, is put the word out that this is something that is affecting everyone, because the neighborhoods, the gangs,
Mm-hmm.
the just everywhere, they are affected by prisons. You cannot tell me that people don't go. They do. They get out all the time.
Yeah.
They're going into the neighborhoods. So to think that prison, that's over here. I don't
That
deal
has
with
nothing
prison.
to do with me.
Yeah. Guess how many ex-prisoners, and I know I go back to this, but many of them get into the food service world. Guess how many meals you've been served by ex-prisoners?
Well, and it's happening in your state on your dime.
Yeah.
So even if you think prison is so removed from you and they're not coming back to your community, well, guess where your tax dollars are going?
Yep. And it's expensive. It's expensive to house. I'm going to have to find some numbers because I know I used to know them, but
I've seen some numbers about how much it costs to house an inmate like per day, and it's astronomical.
Yeah.
And it's all coming from our tax dollars.
a trip to rehab versus 5 years, I will guarantee you the bill for rehab is going to be much, much cheaper than the bill for 5 years.
And it's going to be much more effective than sending them to prison where awful things happen.
Yeah, what bills are you going to pay that shoot off of doing that?
Right, exactly.
So, much thanks to Nick. I'll let him know next time I talk to him on the phone. And just something for you guys to think about, that it affects all of us. So just the fact that you guys are watching, we're, again, grateful for your support, that you're listening to us as we're trying to get this message out there. And yeah, it's appreciated.
Yeah, we're very grateful. And our email is in the bottom of this. So if you guys want to reach out to us, if you have a letter to send, if you know someone who's incarcerated and they can send you a letter and then you can forward it to us, however you want to work it, email us, comment, reach out somehow, and we're here for you.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
Catch you next time.